Tonight, more violin, mandolin, slide guitar, and of course, just a casual number 40 mid-set. Partially, but still left everyone full out there in Big Sky Country. DNB post-show stream starts now. Free Dodo.
Once upon a time, when the world was just a pancake, fears would arise that if you went too far, you'd fall. But with the passage of time, it all became more of a ball. We're sure of that, as we all once were when the world was flat. So I wonder, this is life below smoke inside my head. There's little girl inside my head. There's
It's your boy Concert Viz 34 back at home.
What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34.
Yep, so your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you here.
What up? What up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34. Thank you. Aria. Okay, so this is Aria, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and about your love for the Dave Matthews Band.
I've been a fan of the band since April 28, 1998, and if you recognize the date, that's when Before These Crowded Streets was released.
Alpine is definitely a better venue than Summerfest, but we'll take it. I think I've been going to shows for about 20-something years.
I always tell people, like, compare DMB to now to when I first started. And I got started, in my opinion, I feel like I got started late. Like, I was at the very end of the band's prime. I feel like that 03 to 06 was like the end of the prime. 07, 08 was like, you know, we're at the very end. And then when Roy passed.
But Dave really, this is the thing. Dave has put, Rashawn has been assigned the quarterback of this team. He is the coach, the play caller. He designs the jams. Dave just shows up and plays whatever he's going to play. Montana. What up, what up? Shout out Missoula. Helena, what up? Great Falls, stand up. Big Sky, what up? Shout out Bozeman. Shout out everyone coming down from Alberta, Calgary, Lethbridge. Shout out Casper, Wyoming. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, what up? Glacier National Park, what up? Shout out to all them grizzly bears out there. Shout out to them elks. Yellowstone, what up? Billings, what up? Salt Lake City, what up? Boise, Idaho, stand up. Rapid City, South Dakota, what up? Shout out Bismarck, North Dakota. Bring back Bismarck, the song. Shout out Bismarcky. British Columbia, what up? Manitoba, what up? What up, what up? It's your boy Concert Viz 34. We're going to be talking about
Montana,
Big Sky Country. And in Big Sky, Montana, another night of phenomenal music trending towards that bluegrass country acoustic sound. And so tonight was just additional data, additional information as far as a couple of things. First and foremost, we need to appreciate nights like tonight, whether you're there in person, whether you were watching on the couch tour, whether you're going to be eventually listening to various audio on Sirius XM and maybe elsewhere. I'll talk about that later for night 2. We need to appreciate this. Every single time that we have something like this where a violin is on stage, when it's acoustic, when you have some of these covers that trend bluegrass and country. The first reaction fans have, for some fans, is we need this with the full band. It's like when people get out of a bad relationship. Klay Thompson just saw this with his girl Megan. She been through so many low down dudes, and now she's dating Klay Thompson, who's a pretty good dude from all accounts. And she's talking about, you're the first, you're the nicest, and this, that. But you can't carry the trauma of you missing the violin from D&B over to when you go to see a show like this. You have to enjoy it. You can't be too caught up in being frustrated and mad about what's not happening with D&B. You're at a Dave Solo show. You're at a Dave and Friends show, hopefully sometime in the future. We can, yes, the band needs a violin. Listen, we get it. We get it. But all we can do is live in the what happens next, what happens now. And it's a very dangerous game trying to be caught up in just pointing out that you need a violin. Oh, like it's not a masterful, crazy, unique analysis. But tonight showed yet again that Dave is able to channel some of the elements of his early work with Dave Matthews Band, some of those early track shows and Seaville shows and shows in Richmond where sometimes they had two sets and sometimes they had some unique sounds that were much more acoustic. That part of Dave's life, he ties in with these artists that he played with tonight. So you go to a Dave and Tim in Mexico and you're going to get some of that. You see Dave Solo for 2 straight nights and he's bringing on these amazing artists that he enjoyed being on stage with. The full band right now is not on the pathway where they're going to have a full-time violin player. They're going to have these bluegrass elements frequently in the shows. You have a guess. I told you Gorge Night 1. I think you're going to have a violin guest. I think it's possible. I gave it a 30% chance that you see Anne-Marie Simpson Inninger. I don't know how she's pronouncing her name now. But however she is, she could be there depending on her schedule. I don't know her schedule personally, but it's possible if she's in town and there's, babysitter for the kids, or she's able to bring the kids backstage, she hops on for a song or two. But other than that, the pathway of the full band, it's a flip and reverse. When the full band was playing in the 90s and early 2000s, you had jazz, you had more of that violin giving you that bluegrass feel, and then Dave made Dave and Friends to be more rock based, more electric based. And Tim was able to play out. Tim playing in Red Rocks 95 and some of the 98 fall tour. You still heard him, but he was suppressed. And Lily White told him, bro, straight up, Timothy Reynolds, you're not playing these loud, distorted runs. This band is in this nice bag of doing hit after hit after hit, solid record after solid record. You're not doing no loud electric guitar. So Tim then goes with Dave and Friends, Trey Anastasio, and the rest of that awesome band. They were more of that electric full band, fun, loud, powerful presentation in the Dave Matthews Band universe. But it's flipped now. Now there's not jazz. There was no jazz tonight per se, but you had bluegrass. And so I believe that Dave, if he wants to, can have these performances with these artists, or he can formulate the next generation of Dave and Friends, and it's more bluegrass. If he wants to, it's his option. And I'm completely fine just enjoying the full band and Dave and Tim, but it would be nice. It would be an awesome addition if there's more opportunities to see what we saw tonight. The second thing I want to point out is the last couple of weeks, and you see it every now and then, but I think with the tour being so like amazing with the full band having so much variety. People are worried. Hey, when is the end of DMB? When is it going to happen? I'm so sad. It's going to make me cry. And I get those emotions. But I think what we saw tonight, if, Lord willing, Dave Matthews continues after Dave Matthews Band calls it quits or says we're not going to do any large scale touring anymore like Dead & Co has done. If Dave Matthews Band does that, right? If they do that, there are artists that have availability in between their own careers that if they able to commit to a Dave and Friends, they can have a phenomenal live experience for Dave Matthews Band fans. That's what we saw the last two nights. So the future is bright. If there is a Dave Matthews spinoff, Dave and Friends, Dave and Co., Dave Matthews and the Promise of the Violin. That was another name I made up with this. And the Promise of, this should be good news. And again, we don't know what the future holds for any of us. We have to enjoy every day. But with all of these things considered, there is hope that if Dave decides he wants to keep playing, and let's say Carter maybe says this is it, and maybe Dave says, hey, listen, we're not gonna tour frequently with Dave Matthews Band at some point, because it's gonna come at some point. We're gonna reach that crossroad. And if that happens, we have Dave and Friends. And I still am somebody who says if Dave wants to, he does not have to. He is very wealthy. He has a great life. He has a grandchild either on the way or is already born. I can't remember. I'm not. I just know that he said he's a grandfather, or he's going to be a grandfather in Mexico. And so maybe he doesn't want to do that right now. But if he wants to have Dave and Friends tours, I would prefer it be this bluegrass over the rock heavy versions, because we already have that with Dave Matthews Band. Even with Trey, here's the thing. I love Fish. I love Trey Anastasio Band. We don't need Trey Anastasio on an electric guitar for Dave and Friends. Would I still go? Absolutely. But I'd rather have this acoustic percussive bluegrass with some slide guitar and some electric guitar when needed for Cortez and some of the other stuff. But I like this idea of having a spoon that we got tonight that was very, very beautifully done. This with an upright bass, right? And then we had Mary. She was on the mandolin and fiddle, right? I can't remember. I have to look back if what she was exactly on. I think she was on fiddle for that, right? And so I like this, whether it's a show like this where you bring in a bunch of different guests, or you have a set amount of personnel to make up a band. I like that. Also, let's talk about Jake Rennick Simpson. I talked to someone who was at this show, that messaging them throughout the show, and the reason I did that is because I'm just going to be honest. My experience with, obviously I'm on the couch tour watching this. And so these, shout out to Darren and everyone else who did this. I'm not getting the full experience of listening to those speakers in person. So at times it was hard to hear everything. I mean, maybe some of you guys had a better connect. I know there were a couple of different streams, but at times I could not hear the violin as frequently, and that's probably because they were at the rail, the one I was watching. But someone who was there said, listen, Jake, he knows it. He had to know this material. Like the way he's playing in person, being there, taking this in, it was phenomenal. And so that's why I appreciate when you guys reach out, when you share your perspective from the show, because again, I just had trouble with my setup. Here, I heard the violin, and what I heard was beautiful, but I felt like the violin wasn't, because the people that I was watching on Couch Tour were at the rail and they're singing, people were singing around, which is their right? But they're singing during the solo. I couldn't hear the violin as much during that solo. But someone who was there said, yo, it's phenomenal. And so great. It's great to hear this and see this and experience this. And so this is great stuff. And the person I was talking to who was there, they're like, this was a treat to have all these songs to have Dodo, the first Dodo, it with a full band where you have a drummer, you have a bass, you have a full band behind Dave since 2006, the Dave and Friends Cruise. First time since then you had a full band. Now Dave Matthews Band themselves, they have not played the song in full ever. That's why we say free full band Dodo. But to hear it like it was, right? And they practiced this. This was sound checked, right? And I know Darren and some other people in the couch show, you could hear them say, yeah, this was sound checked, that was sound checked, or they had played it earlier. Some fans had heard some of this stuff earlier. And so it's beautiful to see Dodo come out. And the other thing about this set, we need to talk about this here next, is the pig. And what I want to do, I want to bring up some video, but I do want to give credit to the content creator who uploaded this. And this is Amid Dreaming 41, Cody G. Shout out to him for getting this. I want to play this, but I pulled the audio clip just to give you guys a better view of it. So we're going to get this up here. And so you guys can hear this. What happened during Pig, there were two people fighting. And I was able to confirm this with someone who was there. There were two people fighting in the VIP GA floor area. And so Dave did this. Just give you a warning. There was some harsh language here. If you have kids, there's going to be some F-bombs here. I just want to alert you guys of that. I may just cut off the audio for the algorithm for a second, but I want you to hear kind of what he said initially here.
I'll say one note if you guys are in here. Not one note. I don't care if you came from Timbuktu to go to this show. Get the fuck out.
All right, so Dave continued with the second verse of Pig after that. Now, if you couldn't hear that, on Couch Short, shout out to Darren, I was able to hear Dave said he wasn't going to play another note until those people were kicked out. There were two men fighting in the VIP floor area. That's the front part of this. This is a temporary venue. They build this thing up. They bring in bleachers, and this is just an open area, and they bring the stage and everything to here just for this festival every year. And so Dave noticed they were fighting, and later on in the show, he kind of apologized for being mad, and he brought up the Brian Calhoun slap video. He said there's two types of violence. There's like fun violence, which isn't really violence, and then there's actual violence. And he's like, I'm my mother's child. I don't like seeing violence. And so that's why he stood up, but he kept kind of saying, hey, I'm sorry for acting the way I acted, but listen, I had to stand on that business. You know what I'm saying? Got to stand on business. Y'all got to chill. But he did bring up, he's like, there's fun violence where him and Brian Calhoun mess around, do different pranks on each other, but they know they still respect each other. It's just fun. There's a smack video, and Brian Calhoun is the founder and owner of Rockbridge Guitars. That Rockbridge guitar in Dave's hand was made by Brian Calhoun and the folks that work at his very small boutique guitar company. They make acoustic guitars. Acoustic electric guitars. So they're acoustic guitars that you can plug in. And I believe there are some options without the plug-in of an electronic where you can just naturally play it without any sort of amplification on board or any sort of way to plug into audio, unless you get a mic in the middle of that, in the guitar hole, whatever. I can't think. It's almost 3 a.m. But the point is, he's like, there's a difference between that type of fun and pranking your friends and actual violence. And he's like, listen, these two dudes was fighting, and I'm not going to play until they're out of here. So kudos to Dave for standing on business, for stepping up and saying, I ain't going to do this. I still consider this, and I put this on X, the Pig has never been played in front of a live audience front to back. in full by Dave, with just Dave by himself there, Dave solo. No Tim, no anyone. There's been partials, there's been teases over the years, late 90s, early 2000s. The only time it's been played is a pre-recorded live from home SiriusXM show, which was, again, pre-recorded and then played over the airwaves of Dave Matthews Band Radio Channel 30 on SiriusXM. I don't count that as a live show. So this is the first live show people paid to get in or got access to be in the audience. It was an actual audience, watching Dave work his magic. And so, but at the same time, it was part of the song. He stopped it or aborted it, as the almanac puts, and then he continued the song, picked up at that second verse after things were sorted out. But I still consider he played the full song. It was stopped, and then he resumed it there. So I'm claiming that. I'm calling that the first Dave solo full performance of Pig, despite that interruption. Another thing, that number 40, I want to get to this as well, and let me just get that set up for you. And I'm gonna, I want to give credit to content creators. This is Brenny5 who got this here. I'm gonna get over to the. All right, so this is funny because number 40 does not have set lyrics. There are some things he'll say, tables turns again, my friend, blah, blah, blah. But he kind of, like, some of the best versions that fans love, Dave was kind of making it up as he goes, as he does with certain songs. A lot of improv. So I want to play this for you here. This is, again, from Brenny5 on Instagram. Listen here.
Making it up again. Can't pretend that I ever knew this song. No, I never will. Not at all, no. Stuck here by the road, I think. You make me smile, Lord, I swear you do. After all these years, I still make it there from you, and I think that I will always.
All right, so that's from, thank you to Brenny5. Put that on IG for people to see. And, I thought it was just funny. He's, making it up again. And so those were kind of some things that stood out to me with the beginning of the show, that Pig and the number 40, or number 40 was in the middle, whatever you want to call it. It was at the 10 spot of 24 songs, 23 in the main set. And so you get a two-step in there, which is awesome, Sweet, which I love. I posted. This is a song that feels different to me on a powerful level after having enjoying the birth of my son, and even today playing with him. I still think Samurai Cop is. I get the idea of let's not forget the early days, but Samurai Cop to me is still a trash song. Or not I won't say a trash song. It's not for me. I don't get the emotions of the childbirth, all that stuff. Sweet is the song to me. I think back to the day when my son was born. Because I played that song for him very quietly. When the day he was born, I played it the days after he was born. Even every now and then I'll play it for him. He was having trouble sleeping in the first couple of weeks he was born. After he was born, I played that song for him. It was on a playlist, and it was like to help him go to sleep or to relax. So, but you get two-step, you get now let's talk about real quick, because Dave mentioned, he's talked about, this song is about his maternal grandparents. He just lost his mother, so I think it even more emotion on that. But his maternal grandparents showed a love, a large amount of love for each other, and that they were madly in love, even as they got to their last days of life. And so we've known for a while that Dave writes it. The song is written in the perspective of his maternal grandfather, while his maternal grandmother she's at the end. She's going to be passing away at some point soon. the whole family knows it, and it's this, and the world's crazy, but hey, you are here with me right now. Beautiful song concept, beautiful song based on two people in his life that made a difference. Also talked about when he turned 18, he got a pack of cigarettes from his grandfather. What we learned today, at least I had never heard this. Let me know if you had heard this before. Dave mentioned that his grandparents, maternal grandparents, went to college, and this kind of ties to my life, because I'm like, my grandparents, especially being black in the South, my grandmother went to college. Like, that was rare, and this is in the early 50s. So they went to college, and the dorms there were no co-ed dorms back in the day, right? And I'm sure Dave's grandparents were even older, so they must have been in the 30s or, even earlier than that. But they went to my grandparents, when they were dating in college, they've known each other since childhood, but my grandparents are 89 and 90 right now. Shout out to them, my dad's parents. And they would have to, like, you couldn't stay the night in someone's dorm if you were the opposite sex. It was not allowed back in, and this is the early 50s in Virginia. And so same thing with Dave's maternal grandparents. You could not be crashing over there was no say goodbyes. There was no, cornbreading. Okay. You couldn't do none of that back in the day in these schools. They was like, we separating the boys and girls. You're here to learn. So Dave's maternal grandparents would light a candle in their window, and they could see each other's rooms however it was arranged, but they could see each other's rooms, and they would light a candle around the same time to acknowledge, hey, I know you're watching. And then they would blow out the candles. Right. And so a beautiful layer to the love story of Dave's grandparents. And I think that's important. It's very important. You understand why people are certain ways, and why they have the certain values they have, and why Dave believes in love. And you think about his maternal grandparents shared a love that was powerful, and they displayed it at a time where Dave is born in 1967. A lot of grandparents didn't share love publicly, especially in front of their grandkids. A lot of grandparents back in those days, I think I talked to my parents about their grandparents. They were like, you didn't in public. You were just like, oh, you were all professional. And like, it wasn't like you didn't always see that type of love that Dave experienced. And in certain societal norms, it just wasn't, you kept that stuff behind closed doors. You didn't be like, I love you too. Like, it was like, no, you got to be, oh. And so it shows why that just that generational transition from his mother experiencing those being her parents, and then Dave and his late father, they being together and being married and having that love before his father passed way too soon. I believe it was from cancer. And then Dave even mentioning his wife during this part about, who was his family was there. I mentioned that last night. So about thinking about his wife and his love. And so these things are important. And it also shows the power of when you set and you lay a foundation of love and support, and how that can trickle down from generation to generation, because a lot of people don't have that same luxury, right? Parents separate, may be a parent you never met who wasn't present. And so it's just another layer of why Dave is who he is. Anyway, I think I spent way too much time on that, but nonetheless, just some context there. Okay. And so we get Midset Watchtower. And again, I talked about the violin, Lying Our Graves and Warehouse with Jake. And another key moment here during the performance of the speed of sound of loneliness. Initially, Molly and her squad, they play that thing fast, and Dave stopped them like right as they were like a minute or so into the song and say, hey, stop. I want to get this right. Y'all going too fast. And it's kind of funny. And the same weekend, Dead and Slow is playing, or Dead and Co. Sorry, shout out to Dead and Company. And Dead and Company has been known at times to have slower tempos. And so it's kind of funny because Dave's like, hey, y'all playing too fast. Just like Bobby can't be, you can't be rushing him too fast. John could play faster, and Dead and Company plays Dead songs at slower tempos, right? I've heard it's gotten better over the years since I last saw them live, but yeah, they play some slow tempo. And so Dave kind of stops him, says, "Hey, I want to get this right. Let's slow it down." And Molly's like, "Hey, we play fast, hey, we on that." Like, and this is kind of one of the funnier things where you have these young, talented musicians, and Dave, as he's getting older, is like, hey, slow it down. All right. So they start it again. They play the full song, and but at a slightly slower tempo. So another funny moment there. But the end of this show was just phenomenal. Angel from Montgomery, Spoon. Dave goes solo for Crashing to Me, and then brings out Lucas Nelson and his band. They do Grace Is Gone, that Dodo, the Maker, and then they do a Cortez. Molly comes out for Cortez, and they do their thing there. And then the show ends with the Some Devil. One thing I learned about myself this weekend, listening to SiriusXM last night, listening to Couch Tour tonight, I don't think I dislike. Now, although the Maker, I didn't get it forever, and then I finally got it, and it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. Don't get me wrong. Do I need to hear it every year? No, personally. But take away the Maker. Angel from Montgomery, right? Speed of the Sound and Silence, and some of the other covers. And Cortez is a toss-up to me. I've only seen it once live. I would gladly take it again. I could see myself getting sick of if like I got a bunch of Cortez, which is not really likely. But if like this Dave and Friends played Cortez like every other night, I think I would get sick of it at some point. Although it's a beautiful song, it is long, and it is kind of one of those things better rare. Although I hope people who get it, right? But the covers like Angel from Montgomery. And even I know people, and it's annoying because people keep bringing it up, and it's like either Dave's going to play it or he's not. Like Long Black Veil. It's a beautiful cover that Dave does, regardless of who's on stage with him. But those types of covers, which are more country and bluegrass, I don't mind those covers as much as the Let's Dance, which I love David Bowie. Peter Gabriel, one of my favorite artists, Genesis and solo. From that era, Peter Gabriel was one of my favorite from that 70s, 80s. I don't ever need to hear Sledgehammer again, personally. So I think I don't like when Dave Matthews Band or Dave and Tim cover some of these more, popular rock covers, popular music rock covers. But when they do Angel from Montgomery, these bluegrass stuff, I enjoy that more. And it's not as much of a hindrance as, Let's Dance. And even Watchtower Tonight, the acoustic versions of Watchtower, Dave and Tim and Dave solo, I like that better than a full band electric Watchtower, which to me, I just think it defeats the purpose of what made Dave's version unique. Dave's version was unique because you had violin, and I'm not saying they need a violin, but you don't need electric guitar on Watch, in my opinion. Now, the majority of the crowd eats up Watchtower, but I like it more acoustic campfire. Just like I like Don't Drink the Water, which was played tonight, more acoustic campfire. So yeah, my big thing here, Dave and Friends should be acoustic bluegrass country. I think it's better that way than having you have the full band. The full band is essentially more Dave and Friends than it is core Dave Matthews Band nowadays. And that's okay. And I love the sets they've been playing. But I like having Dave and Friends be electric and the regular band being very electric based it defeats the purpose. It's two of the same things. Last two nights, if you had to choose from one, which one would you like the most? That's a good question. The hammer is out there. I think last night, tonight had Dodo. Tonight had Dodo, which is a song. You know what I think is in tonight's, I'll say this, tonight's tonight's number 40 being there, a two-step. Tonight had more like, oh, I didn't expect him to play that. Like, I didn't expect a number 40 in a four. Even though this is a unique festival, I didn't expect a number 40 at a festival, even if it's 2 nights. But I think if we go back to last night, what I loved about last night, you have from Oh Sister to the end, I thought it was nonstop banger, 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 banger. As far as how they sounded. Tonight's show had more deep cuts that I love, and I loved that spoon. And you had more violin because you had violin from multiple angles. But I think what I liked about last night, from Oh Sister all the way to the end of this show, you got a phenomenal run of songs where and it was the initial feeling of, wow, this Dave and Friends could be awesome. If this is Dave and Friends in the future, it's going to be awesome. That, like, Save Me is not one of my favorite songs ever, but that performance last night was absolute fire. Just Breathe was so unique. Again, don't need rock covers. They turned Just Breathe, a Pearl Jam song, which is acoustic based, into a bluegrass cover. Right. And even that Nancy's, also great, even though it was just Dave solo. But I think last night had the momentum carried on. I think for me personally, the Maker, and again, if I'm at this show, I'm having the time of my life. But the Maker and Cortez to end off, again, beautiful songs. I still think the run last night just had more of an impact to me personally. But I think some people will say night 2 there. And to me, I'm judging the highlights of both nights were when everyone was on stage. Or you had people like Jake Rennick Simpson on stage, and then you had Molly Tuttle and Mary Meyer and Vanessa McGowan, and then you had the whole Lucas Nelson squad. Those were the peaks of it. And I think what I will say is, though, tonight had a better run of songs before you had guests. Tonight, to have two-step and to have 41 and to have O with additional context and number 40 and a mid-set Watchtower and a Lion, and then you get the Lion on Graves and Warehouse with Jake. I think that the early part of the show built up, and I think that was on purpose to start off with the Pig, right? To start off with Pig is phenomenal. And my bias could also be because I had SiriusXM audio last night. I always choose the audio over Couch Tour because I'm more of an audio guy. I don't need to see the band. I can listen in, and shout out to the Couch Tour. It's not a not. When you have that SiriusXM audio, perhaps if I had the audio and I could hear that violin like I heard violin last night, maybe I do like it more. And speaking of this, I just want to make this announcement. So there was a taper there. Okay, so we are going to have taper audio after we get everything sorted out. And so that's a great thing because we didn't know it was going to be a SiriusXM. So the taping community got everything worked out, and we do have taper audio that will come. I will have access to that. So stay tuned because I will be looking to maybe put together some things here based on this night and maybe pull some of the best stuff. But there is this great thing is these shows will be preserved via taper audio here. And this is a tough show. So just want to give credit to the taper community. Be patient. Okay. Be very patient because this is logistically a challenging event to then bring taper gear to, right? And have that on a plane and, drive an hour to this venue to tape. So we'll be taper audio. Be patient. Don't ask like a week from now or even a day from now. Is there taper audio? Be patient. Be patient. Please be patient. Okay. Cliff Burton, unrealistic Cliff Burton says, what stands out stands out is the amount of guests. Yes, this was strategically the end of these sets, and it really makes it to me. It makes this trip worth it when you look at the amount of collaboration that went on. We didn't know what was going to happen. We assumed maybe there's going to be a couple guest spots. And again, going to Dead & Co. last night, they had Billy Strings on for one song. If they had Billy Strings on for 3 or 4 songs, you're talking about a whole different dynamic to that Dead & Co. weekend. But he did his thing on Wharf Rat, and that was it. I'm curious to see the set from tonight and who, like, you know, what Sturgill. Let me take a look here. I'll take a look right now and see, because I think that's the thing is, like, with Dead & Co., there's two different reasons, two different like needs, but for Dead & Company, this is just me personally. I don't have the same desire as I had when I first started seeing them to be like, oh, I have to watch them live. And I know this is a big weekend for diehard Deadheads, but I just think it's a little like, it's just like the openers are more appealing to me than Dead & Company. Right. So let's see the second. I'm just going to check to see because I want to see. Oh, so they did Morning Dew with Sturgill. And then so they just did Morning Dew with Sturgill Simpson. Yeah, like that's the thing about this Dead & Co. week. I'm sure it was a great show for people who are excited about this weekend. But you get Sturgill on like 3 or 4 different Dead songs versus one. And it was a first set song. So it was like, all right, Sturgill comes in. At least last night it was like second. Anyway, I digress. Again, if you liked it, I like the Dead universe. Dead & Co., you know, I would have loved to see them at the Sphere, and maybe they'll be back. I don't know. There's rumblings of a multi-year. I've lost count, but I know that experience was great. The Hammer's on here right now on the live chat. I know he had a great time. Other people. But outside of the Sphere, I'm like, why do I need to see Dead & Co.? For what? And they're not playing many things. They're doing the GD60 tonight, this weekend, and then they're either probably going to do Sphere or that's it. But for me, my taste, give me J-Rad. Okay. I loved Phil and Friends before Phil passed. I think those were fresher and more affordable too than Dead & Company. But again, I understand why Dead & Company. You got core members that are there. Anyway, I digress. This is not a Dead stream. But that's pretty much it. I'm excited for different things. Go watch the Volta live stream through this weekend. I would say we at least will have it through Sunday. I don't know the exact expiration, but definitely tomorrow, if you have a chance, go to volta.live and check that out, because that will be a really cool thing. Someone says, just remember, Jerry's always listening. Yeah, Jerry's listening. I think Jerry would be disappointed with the pricing of Dead & Company. I think he'd be like, this is not what $635 for a 3-day pass. I think he'd be like, oh, wait a minute, guys. Hold on. Anyway, shout out RIP Jerry Garcia. And but yeah, Dead & Company is a cash grabbing company. It's a brand, man. They flipped the Dead universe, and they flipped a lot of fans who were like, oh, it's John Mayer, I don't like him. And now it's funny because it was like, I was like, all right, like, I know John Mayer. I've seen him cover Dead stuff before Dead & Co. Like, dude's going to take this joint seriously. And then all of a sudden, all these Deadheads who are against them, they jumped on the John Mayer bandwagon. Not everyone, but a lot of them did. He's like, he's not Trey. Then they're all fans. And now I'm trying to get John Mayer back to John Mayer stuff, and these Deadheads don't want to let go of John and Dead & Company. It's funny how the tables turn. And I'm like, I want J-Rad. I want this. I'm like, I need some Mayer. Like, I need a Mayer, like, tour. Like, I need a fall tour, a summer tour. Like, I need more Mayer touring. And I can get my fix of the Dead with J-Rad. But again, it's not a Dead stream. All right. Let's see the poster, and let me go to both of them. So this was last night's. Oops. Let me get it set up. All right. So we're gonna pull up both nights here, and I will get both of them set up. Give me 1 second. Oh, the last thing I'll say about the Dead and John Mayer is this. You know, if you think about Fish fans, imagine, or if you're a Dave Matthews Band fan who's been a long time fan, my frustration with Dead and Company is, I know John's having a lot of fun. I know obviously there's a financial incentive to stay with Dead and Company, but imagine if Trey Anastasio decided to join the Dead related bands from 2005 to 2015. That's the same thing as what John Mayer has pretty much been tied to. He's had a 10-year decade in the same age. Like if Dave Matthews joined another band, a legacy act with a couple of remaining core members, and he started in 2005 and did 2025 till 2015. That's the same amount of time John has had at the same age, because John was born in 77, Dave was born in 67. And so it's the same amount of time. And that's what's frustrating is like, I love the Dead. I love the Allman Brothers. I love the legends that without them, we would not be here. But also at the same time, first of all, even with the Allman Brothers, Derek Trucks is playing with Tedeschi Trucks Band. He's playing a full slate of shows every year with Tedeschi Trucks, and then he does the Brothers once or twice a year. But John has had John Mayer solo. He's also had the Sob Rock tour. They were so quick and the momentum could not be built. I still feel like Sob Rock did not get an extra victory lap that other John Mayer albums got because he was touring more. And so imagine Fish fans if Trey decided to go with Rat Dog or some other band or fill-in friends, and he just plays with them for a decade and has limited Fish touring and Tab touring. That's exactly what's happened with John. He has had solo stuff, but it's been very, very limited outside of, I think 2017 was a year where he did a lot. And there's been other years he did more, but he had to go back to the Dead and co. And so it slowed momentum down. And it's frustrating because, again, I'm 34. I don't want John Mayer, and again, it's his choice, but it's kind of sad to feel like John Mayer is going to be doing covers into his 60s, you know, instead of focusing on his solo stuff more heavily. Even if he takes time off, goes in the studio, it's still time towards his solo stuff. And initially, Dead and Company helped John with his solo set list, but now it's kind of like it's a hindrance to his tour momentum. All right, here we go. Here are the two posters. You can't see me, but that's okay. So night one is to the left, that tealish one with the stars in the sky. And then night two, Twin Home Prince did this. Night two has the bear on the little tower and the sun out in like a dusk kind of golden hour type thing. So pretty cool. And maybe I think it is a sunrise. I think it's a sunrise. And so it's pretty cool to see that. And if you notice here, this perspective of the night two, you see it like rotated a bit. And so you see a different kind of angle of this tower. You notice there's a fire dancer on that tower, fire dancer flag on that tower. Excuse me there, I had to blow my nose. Oh, you guys can't even see it because I'm blocked off. That's good. But yeah, so I thought the perspective change or the little flip of it is cool when to have the bear and the sun's up and the birds are in the air. And you have the shooting stars night one. So I thought these are two good posters here for Montana. And I love the use of nature. I get frustrated. I know every gorge poster can't use nature, but like I love the usage of nature here and the way it was used in it and how it really looks very tied to this big sky country. Some of the gorge photos that I've seen, like where there was like a forest, I think that was the methane. It was like a forest one. And is that 2019 or 2021? Those are the years I went. There was like a forest methane. I'm like, this doesn't look like Washington. Or this doesn't look like the gorge area of Washington. When you drive through Squamish Pass and you get over towards Seattle, you do get some woodsy areas. But I was like, this doesn't feel like the gorge. So I was frustrated. So I love this feels like Montana. Open country, still areas that are not inhabited or that have been modernized or trees have not been cut down. It's just all like it has been for thousands of years. And that's beautiful. All right, that's it. That's all I'm going to do for tonight. Stay tuned. I'll be having other content up, the SPAC multicams, the Guilford ones, and again, additional content as well. So just stay tuned. Instagram, Facebook, and X/Twitter, Concert Vids 34. We're going to close out with Angel from Montgomery. Now, this is going to be Sarah Hall. This is not Molly Tuttle. Disclaimer, this is not the performance from tonight. But another beautiful performance of just, again, the power of this cover and my realization tonight that, hey, I like covers like this. They're beautiful. I heard Susan Tedeschi sing it with Dave at Soulshine last year. So great to hear this beautiful side of Dave. And we heard it in Mexico this year, night 2. This is Angel from Montgomery, Mexico, night 2. Dave Matthews, Tim Reynolds, and Sierra Hall. Thank you guys for the support. I will be back with the post-show streams when the full band hits up Inglewood. I think it's Inglewood. Is that what's next? Let me just double check. Sorry. Let me also get you over to. You guys can't even see me. I'm like John Cena, right? Yes, the next shows are Kia Formula. They start out in Inglewood. I couldn't remember if they had a show or two before that. They start out in Inglewood. The first time in a long time they've been at what was the LA Forum, now the Kia Forum. But I will see you guys then for the post-show stream. But again, more content will be ongoing. A lot of work I'll be putting in around hanging out with my son and my wife and the family. Outside of that, I'll be trying to nail in these additional content for you guys that is DMB related. All right. Angel from Montgomery, Gorge, Mexico, night 2. Enjoy.
That's Tim Rose. It's and it is lovely to hear you guys singing when he's playing that song. I already introduced her to you, but I'd like Sarah Hull to come out and sing a song with us.
Just give me one thing that I can hold on. just give me one thing I can hold on to. Leaving this living is just a hard way to go. There's flies in the kitchen, I can hear them a buzzing. And I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work in the morning or come home in the evening? They got nothing to say. Yeah, make me an angel. The flies from Montgomery will make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living, just a hard way to go. To believe in this living, just a hard way to go. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. So hope